everyone. Welcome back to my channel. We will review Algebra 1, Part 3. Question number 17. Three types of solutions of a system of linear equation. So when we solve a system of linear equations, we generally find three types of solutions. Do you remember the name of those three types? I will give you 10 seconds to think about it. You can also pause the video if you need more time. So you can have one solution, no solution, infinitely many solution. Okay, so one solution means you're going to have one x value and one y value. Okay, that's how you know that answer represents one solution. All right, let's take a look. So let's say you know how to use TI-84 calculator to solve a system of linear equations. And you did all the work and finally you found these three answers. Okay, so my question is, by looking at this answer, let me call it example 1. Can you tell me whether or not it represents one solution, no solution, or infinitely many solution? I will give you 10 seconds to think about the problem. So if you have 1, 0, 0, 1, just like this, it is always going to be one solution. Okay, so 1, 0, 0, 1, one solution. So your x value will be equal to 2, and this is going to be your y value. So your y value will be equal to 1 in this case. Okay, so to make long story short, this is your x value and this is your y value. Okay, so your x value and this is your y value. All right, so let's take a look at example number 2. Is it one solution, no solution, or infinitely many solution? I will give you 10 seconds to think about the problem. Okay, so since you have two zeros here and 5 here, that means it is going to be no solution. Okay, no solution. So if you have 0, 0, any number other than 0, it is going to be no solution. Okay, that means you don't have any x or y value. All right, so let's take a look at the last one, example number 3. I'll give you 10 seconds. The question is simple: one solution, no solution, or infinitely many solution. So if you have 3 zeros on your second row, it's going to be infinitely many solution. Okay, so I hope you noticed the pattern. I hope you noticed the difference between no solution and infinitely many solution. Infinitely many solution has 3 zeros. So if you have 3 zeros on your second row, you know is going to be infinitely many solution. For no solution, you are always going to take a look at the second or the last row, the second row. Okay, so if you have 0, 0, 1, no solution. 0, 0, 2, no solution. 0, 0, 3, no solution. But if you have 0, 0, 0, then it's going to be infinitely many solution. I hope it makes sense. All right, so let's take a look at Question number 18. What do you know about correlation coefficient? Okay, so I will give you 10 seconds to think about the problem. So correlation coefficient, so it tells us how strong a relationship is between two variables. Okay, so it tells us how strong a relationship is between two variables. So let's go over the correlation coefficient. Okay, so this is our number line, this is our 0, so -1, +1. So correlation coefficient tells us how strong a relationship is. Okay, so let me explain what does that mean. This is going to be -0.5, that's going to be +0.5. Okay, so if your correlation coefficient is +1, okay, if it's +1, it means it's strong positive relationship. Okay, strong positive relationship. If you have -1, it's going to be strong, but so it's a strong relationship but strong negative relationship. Okay, so if your correlation coefficient is equal to 0, that means it's weak. The relationship is weak between two variables. Okay, if your correlation coefficient is equal to +0.5 or around +0.5, it's going to be moderate positive. Okay, if it's -0.5 or close to -0.5, for example -0.4, -0.6, it will be called moderate negative. Okay, all right, let's move on to question number 19. So in question number 19, we want to discuss the relationship between factors and the zeros of a polynomial. Okay, so if you don't remember what is the zeros of a polynomial, let me write it down. So zeros of a polynomial basically means x-intercept. Okay, x-intercept or roots. Okay, all right, so the idea is simple. If they give us factors like x minus 3, x plus 5, can we find out the zeros of a polynomial? Okay, so there are two ways you can find that out. One, you can just set them equal to 0. So I can set each factor equal to 0 and solve for x, or x plus 5 equal to 0. So I'm going to add 3 to both sides. So x is going to be equal to 3. Subtract 5. X is going to be equal to -5. So the zeros of a polynomial will be +3 and -5. Okay, so the second way to solve this problem, you just take a look at this number and you change the sign. So if I have -3, I'm going to have +3. If I have +5, I'm going to have -5. Okay, so there are two ways you can solve this problem. Okay, So to make long story short, if they give you factors, you can find out the zeros of a polynomial. What you need to do, you have to set each factor equal to 0 and solve for x. Okay. All right, let's take a look. Now, let's say they are giving you the zeros of a polynomial, and let's say they're saying it's equal to -2 and 1. Can you give us the factor? Okay, so let me read the question one more time. So if they give us the zeros of a polynomial, can we find out the factors? Okay, so in this specific problem, the zeros of a polynomial are -2 and 1. So how can we find out the factors? All right, I'll give you 10 seconds to think about it. So there are two ways you can find that out, okay? You know what? I'm just going to show you the easiest way. So if I have -2, right? If I have -2 and 1, you can think of 1 as +1, okay? So the only thing that you have to do, you just you just place x in front of that number, okay? So x minus 2 will be the factor, okay? And you just put x in front of +1. So x plus 1 and x minus 2 will be the factors of that polynomial. All right. So let me know if you have any question. If you like this video, don't forget to subscribe.